Hollywood stars, it's Mrs. Woram. I'm back with our story, Toby's story. We are so super close to the end of the book. Will Toby stay at the nursing home and be a therapy dog? Or is he going somewhere else? I am on the edge to find out how this story ends. So let's get started, friends. It is Toby's Story by W. Bruce Cameron, and we are on chapter 15. A couple of weeks after my first lie still with Granddad, Mona came to get me. It was afternoon, and Dorothy and I were playing chase with the ball outside in the yard. Sorry, Dorothy, but Toby's got a very important appointment, Mona said, clipping my leash onto my collar. She took me to a car. Patsy sat in the front seat and drove, while Mona and I sat in the back. I pressed my nose to the window, which was open just a crack at the top. Wind rushed in, packed full of smells that made me dizzy with excitement. So wonderful. When the car stopped, we got out. I looked around and surprised to see all the people there. So many new friends. I wagged and wagged as Mona took me on my leash through the crowd, and people smiled and stopped to pet me. One little girl even gave me a crunchy, salty treat from a bag that rustled in her hand. I like this place very much. Come on, Toby. The race is going to start soon, Mona urged, tugging on my leash. She took me to where the crowd was the thickest. A group of boys was standing together on grass and in thin dirt road, like the one Tyler and I followed to the ranch that led into some trees. Good, we're just in time, Mona said. Hey, Toby, do you want to see? She picked me up and held me. I squirmed so that I could get to her chin. Someone shouted, and the boys lined up across the grass. Then I began to squirm harder in Mona's hands. Where are they? Where did they go? Are they there to see Tyler? Is Tyler doing one of his races? Tyler was there with the boys. My whole body quivered with excitement. This morning, Tyler had not come for me for a run, but he was here now. Should I go with him? A man standing near the boys, and he put a hand up in the air, and he was holding some kind of toy in it, something black and shiny, and the toy made a loud noise. I twitched in surprise, and all the boys started running toward the forest. Running! Oh no, is he going to go? Is he going to leave and jump in and run with them? I squirmed harder and whined. Tyler was running without me. This wasn't what was supposed to happen. When Tyler ran, I belonged to him. Toby, take it easy, Mona said. She put me down on the grass and fumbled with my leash. I had to get to Tyler. I lunged forward. My leash slipped through Mona's fingers. Toby! She shouted. But I was too busy to take care of her right at this moment, so I kept going. I tore across the grass, my leash behind me, whipping like a snake. I dodged, trampling my feet, grabbing hands. The boys had nearly reached the trees by now. I'd catch them. After all the running Tyler and I had done, my legs were strong and my pads of my paws were tough. Those boys could not get away from me. Now I was in the forest and Tyler was right behind me. He was running behind the other boys just as he's used to. Pretty soon, I was at his heels. Toby! Tyler gasped in surprise, looking down at me. I yipped up at him happily. He'd forgotten to come and get me for his run, but I forgave him. Now that we were running together, everything was all right. It was better than all right. It was perfect. Good dog, Toby, Tyler said, pulling in breaths behind his words. He reached down and without missing a step, unsnapped my leash, winding it as fast as he could. I darted around Tyler's feet so that I could run ahead of him. Where was the ranch? Weren't we going there? I was afraid Tyler might forgotten and got confused to take the wrong road. I'm sure we would find the right one. No matter how hard I sniffed, I could not smell a whiff of Sadie or Walt on the warm breeze that drifted to me. But when we broke out of under the trees, our path ran alongside a fenced-in meadow. On the other side of the fence was some enormous black and white dogs, so obviously we could get to the ranch soon. I sped up so I could bark at all the big dogs. The big dogs ignored me. They usually do. And then I wondered why they never barked back. Tyler sped up too. He stayed close. The pack of the boys was ahead of us, and he began to spread out, some running a bit slower, some pushing ahead of the rest. A boy in dark shorts was running just in front of us as we jogged along the fence that held the big dogs in it. I passed him, and then another boy. Somewhere up ahead, the ranch would be waiting, and it would be a big bowl of cool water and play with Sadie and greet Walt. I could hardly wait. Do you think they're going there? Uh-oh. Hope he stays with him. I glanced back and discovered to my great joy that Tyler had finally figured out how to play chase with me. He was right behind me. I wagged my tail for him and looked ahead again. Slowly, we passed boy after boy. Our trail took us back under more trees and a small bridge with a shiny creek trickling underneath. Tyler's feet pounded on the wooden boards, and my claws scratched them. I would have liked to stop for a drink, but I didn't want to lose the sensational game that we were playing. A drink could come later. A boy ahead of us tried to jump over a log that lay in the path. He stumbled, though, and fell to his hands and knees. I bounded over the log easily and stopped to check on the fallen boy. I licked his face. It was nice and sweaty. Tasty. You okay? Tyler shouted from behind. Yeah, okay, the boy gasped, getting slowly to his feet. Tyler hurdled the log before the boy could start running again. I dashed down in front of Tyler once more. Our path wound in slow curves and then led us down a slope. I could see a break in the trees ahead and the sunlight shining on grass. Only one boy was ahead of Tyler and me now. Halfway down the slope, he wore a light-colored t-shirt and dark shoes. When he looked back over his shoulder, I barked happily at him. He knew how to play chase, too. He was asking me to come and get him. I was delighted. I put on speed as we headed down the slope, and Tyler, breathing hard now, stayed close behind. We were going to catch that other boy any second now. The boy in the dark shoes was right in front of us when he broke out from under the shadows of the trees in the sunlight, but he was breathing hard and his legs were starting to wobble a bit of each step. I tore around the boy, my claws digging deep into the earth. Now I was running all by myself ahead of Tyler and all the pack. I looked back to make sure that they understood what to do. It was their turn to chase me now. The boy in the dark shoes was wobbling more and more. He began to slow down. Tyler did not. He ran steadily, but not fast, but never faltering. He drew close to the other boy. For a short time, they ran side by side. Then Tyler slowly moved ahead. It was funny. Tyler used to like running behind all the other boys. Then he wanted to run just with me. Now it seemed it was his favorite thing to run with all the boys again, but in front, not in behind. At last, the smile on his face as he passed the boy in the dark shoes made it look like being in the front was his favorite thing. But then that smile faded. I turned to look ahead and saw the big hill was rising up in front of us. I charged it, looking back often to encourage Tyler and the other boys the rules of chase me. I was in the front now, and they had to catch me if they could. Tyler was going slower now. The smile of his face was off, but his feet were steady to the ground. The boy in the dark shoes was behind him, and even where I was running, I could hear how hard the boy was panting. More boys were starting to jog out from the trees behind us. Great! We could all play together. Sound drifted to my ears from over the top of the hill. People were shouting and cheering. They sounded excited and happy. They should come and run with us. They would be even happier. A warm breeze brought a scent to my nose. Mona! She was one of the people ahead. I wanted to be with her, so I put a little extra speed and reached to the top of the hill. I looked back to check on Tyler. He was still jogging after me. The boy in the dark shoes had stopped running and started walking. A few other boys were doing the same. What a silly thing to do! I looked ahead and saw that they'd run in a big circle and come back where we started. It wasn't nearly as far as the ranch. Why hadn't we gone to the ranch? Tyler must have gotten very lost. Oh, well, I could hear and see Mona now, as well as smell her. She was at the bottom of the hill, waving and shouting my name and Tyler's. I ran to her and she dropped to her knees to greet me. Toby, you silly boy, she kept saying. She grabbed a hold of my collar. Then Mona looked up. Tyler! Tyler! She shouted, jumping and waving. Tyler was running down the hill now. His stride was wide and his back was straight. I pulled on the collar so Mona would let me go run with him. It was what I was supposed to do. No, Toby, she said, pulling back. I whined impatiently. She didn't understand. I looked up at her, trying to explain with my eyes. Tyler was running. I was supposed to run with him. Oh, well, Mona let go. Wonderful. I raced after Tyler, barking at him happily, circled around his feet a few times, and jogged with him the rest of the way down the hill. Tyler stopped running and put his hands on his knees and panted and panted. All the people clapped, and there was a lot of yelling. Breathless, he put the leash back on. After a little while, the rest of the boys staggered over the hill and down to where they were waiting, and everybody clapped and yelled for some more. I wagged and wagged. All the people seemed very pleased. I must have been a very good dog. After all the clapping and shouting and talking was over, Tyler drank a lot of water from a plastic bottle and poured some over his head. And Mona poured some in another bottle into her hand for me to lap up. Then Mona pulled on my leash, and we went back to the place where all the cars were parked. One car parked up, stopped for us to get in. Tyler and Mona sat together in the back with me. Patsy was sitting in the front. Mona and Tyler were laughing, and both of them talked at the same time. They said my name a lot, Tyler's too, and Patsy smiled. She didn't seem happy. Then she said something back to them, and all their happiness just went away. Just like that. I was confused. I looked at Tyler, to Mona. Was something wrong? Had I been a bad dog? I sat in the case that was supposed to. I held up for a paw for Tyler to shake. He took it. Good boy, Toby, he said, but his voice sounded miserable. What do you think's going on, friends? What is going on here? Why are they sad all of a sudden? Tyler won the race. They should be happy. I did lie still, curled up against Mona. She rubbed my ears. I was beginning to think I had done something wrong. But it was still hard to understand how their happiness in the car could change to sadness quickly. We'll go back now, Patsy said soberly, as she began to drive. When we got back home, I jumped out of the car. Fran was waiting for us at the doorway. Your mom's already in the hospice wing with your grandfather, she said to Tyler. We'll go right there. She looked down at me. The dog's a mess. Mona, take him and clean him up. Tyler bent down and picked me up. He held me and put his face in my fur. I felt his body relax just a little. It's just a little mud, Patsy said gently. I don't think it matters much. Fran looked at Tyler and at me, and then the first time I did not feel like a bad dog around her. Yes, of course, she said gently. You're right. She reached out a hand and stroked my back. Good dog, Toby. Uh-oh. We just learned that Toby's grandfather's not doing well. I hope that Toby can bring some light to Tyler's grandfather and help him out. Cliffhangers, they keep leaving us. All right, friends, we're going to end there for today. Nailbiter, I'm not sure what's going on, how this is going to end, but I look forward to reading chapter 16 with you. Have a great day, friends. Bye-bye.